Omega.
Yes, Gunner.
Have you taken the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge?
The All Lemur Society?
No, the ALS Foundation, aka Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a terribly, horribly paralyzing disease had by the likes of Lou Gehrig, the guy that was based off the book of Tuesdays with Morrie, that kind of thing. Basically, it cripples you from the toes up, slowly.
Huh. I'm a big fan of that particular ALS. I prefer the lemurs. They like to move it.
I see. Well, let's put it this way. Coming from another guy who was basically paralyzed from the toes up this past Sunday, I bet you he took an ice bath or two after that brutal beating. 15 suplexes. Let's start the show. Or was it 16? Hello everybody, and welcome to We'll Get Serious, number 130. My name is Gunner, and that is Omega BR.
I think I needed an ice bath after that Stephanie Bree match, you know what I'm saying, fellas? Because that's how they used to treat mental patients.
Yeah, no, I think the electroshock therapy would be better. And joining us this week is one and only technical producer, Mr. Yankum DDS.
If it's broken, it's probably Gunner's fault.
Nah, we don't have Nedjester here to blame today, so that's probably what's going on. Alright, so, here we go. Exactly. Here's the news. Alberto Del Rio tops our news this week and is now known as El Patron, and appeared with his father Dos Caras at AAA Triple Mania, cutting a promo against racism in the WWE before clearing the ring of pedos del mal. He was unable to wrestle for them for 90 days and can't wrestle in America for a year, likely due to WWE finding him in breach of his contract. Dave Meltzer reports TNA officials contacted him immediately with the intention of making him world champion. Hey, I couldn't finish the sentence. How am I not surprised? Apparently the slap he gave to social media live events director Cody Barberi, way too many eyes in that, was so forceful they knocked him to the ground, and he was suspended until Barbieri, who was generally seen as an arrogant and demeaning towards the wrestlers, threatened to sue, leaving WWE little choice. Rey Mysterio also appeared in a video at the end of the show with a happy anniversary and said he'd see them soon. So in other words, the two top most Latino babyfaces that are still alive, the company right now, said goodbye and showed up in AAA. Mexico's greatest export is now Mexico's greatest import.
Well, it's really kind of their own fault, they're afraid of being seen as racist, but now, I'm not saying Del Rio was in the right to slap the guy, but there have been instances in the past where you have accusations of less than couth things toward Latinos or other races, and plus that whole Sin Cara thing really didn't work out, which was not all their fault, of course, but, they do kind of have this, supposedly they want to connect with the Latino market, but then, Sin Cara, Del Rio, even Mysterio in a way, they kind of just sit on, give up on, like they do every other thing that doesn't quite work out the way they want it to, which is perfect and immediately.
Okay, so I could get into this topic of racism in wrestling, and I could really, really get into it and basically say, at the end of the day, what it turns out to be is the old Southern system, which is they have a quota, essentially, of the amount of wrestlers that could be from a certain area, or a certain, skin tone, even. And this has gone back into the old Carney days. I mean, come on. But at the same time, it's still extremely prevalent in today's wrestling scene, especially in the South. Especially. If there is one black guy in the Federation, there will not be another black guy in that Federation. I almost guarantee it. But that's neither here nor there. The problem here is the fact that Del Rio acted as a wrestler would, not necessarily should, but would, knocking the spit out of a guy's mouth after being, an asshole. And then the guy being like, "Oh, it's for you." And of course, in this case, corporate America wins because you can't be sued. Ugh,
see,
disgusting.
I chalk that up. I'm sure racism still does exist in many facets of wrestling, including the WWE, but I chalk it up more to a general lack of respect for the talent and, the talent that aren't your very top guys who are quote-unquote untouchable, I mean, here's Del Rio, a guy who was World Heavyweight Champion, a big deal fairly quick, and then he's pretty much been on the wayside, I was kind of surprised he even made it to that, championship match recently. And like I said, aside from maybe a dozen guys that are more or less untouchable, it's anybody could be on the chopping block, and you don't even really need to do anything like this. These budget cuts and everything. I don't claim to know what goes on backstage, but it doesn't seem like much of a family type atmosphere. I've heard a lot of interviews with wrestlers where they say that they were in WWE and then they jumped to TNA, and the atmosphere in TNA was a lot more knit. It was a lot more sort of calm and positive.
There's not a whole lot to compete for in TNA as opposed to in WWE. So of course it's more common. I mean, really, it's being the top guy in WWE can have you raking in, over $1 million a year.
I don't know if I read this out on this podcast or not, but I did read it out. I did recite this list to someone or another before. But apparently, Alberto Del Rio was making $650,000 a year. That's before perks, benefits, and all that kind of stuff.
That's a lot of money.
That is the fourth most expensive professional wrestler that they had employed at that particular point. So, the Rio didn't come cheap, and that millionaire gimmick wasn't much of a gimmick. It was real life.
Right, if he didn't spend anything, 2 years' salary would have been over $1 million. But
and like I said, that's before merchandise and a video game and all of those fun perks that you get. And basically, he's set. He's good. He doesn't have to wrestle anymore. He's going to, and I bet you anything, he's... Look, WWE is, at the end of the day, whatever the guy did, must have deserved that, because Del Rio wouldn't have put himself in a position to be fired if he didn't do something that deserved it.
For that kind of money, you're not just going to slap somebody if they don't deserve it. When you're making that kind of money, you're not going to risk that kind of income over something small. And, if other people are reporting that this guy's an asshole to everybody, then, I don't know why they stood behind him instead of
10 10 years ago, we wouldn't have heard about this. The other guy would have been fired, and we wouldn't have known what the hell went on. I guarantee it.
And that probably, like, if it was this exact situation, that would have been the right thing to do, to fire that guy for being a racist prick. And actually, now, that still would have been the right thing to do, because if he'd have brought, the assault charges, there is a such thing as fighting words. The Supreme Court has ruled that there is a certain level of speech where, you're inciting someone to hit you, and you've got it coming. So they probably could have won that.
Well, who's to say? To be fair, Del Rio had been making noise about leaving, and I think he's a lot happier in Mexico anyway. Just like Mysterio wants to.
Oh, yeah. Because Mexico is turning into a big hotbed because of AAA and what they were doing down there. So,
just real quick before we move on, I believe Dave Meltzer. But I'd just like to point out that he could be just pulling this out of his ass with no contact from anyone in TNA, and I still wouldn't doubt its veracity if he had just been like, I'm like, if he came out and said, I'm pulling this out of my ass, no sources to verify, TNA would have made Del Rio the champion if he'd have come over. They told him that. I've been like, yeah, that sounds right.
So the end of the summer next year, expect TNA to put Del Rio on as the World Heavyweight Champion at Bound for Glory. So there you go.
Well, speaking of TNA, we've got Spike TV announcing that Impact Wrestling will be moving to Wednesdays starting this week. Tomorrow, in fact, from when this podcast was recorded, due to the heavy competition from the Thursday night NFL games and rumors of SmackDown moving back to that old night. Now, this doesn't mean that there's a new deal in place with Spike, as of yet. The next set of tapings has been announced for Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, on September 16th through the 19th. Tag Team Champion Davey Richards suffered a broken fibula at a live event in Indiana, Pennsylvania, but he claims his recovery will be 4 to 6 weeks, and with Impact taped several weeks in advance, he may get to keep the championship. The New Japan event that was scheduled to take place in the same venue as Bound for Glory this year is now removed from the calendar. However, there has been very little in the way of hype or mention or even planning for the pay-per-view, and no one's quite sure what's going on with it yet.
Well, it all depends on what the Spike TV people like Dixie Carter's entourage does with this TV deal, and we still don't have a new deal. And I bet you anything, all of us are being like, the old TNA is dead, and they get a deal done, but they move from Thursdays to Wednesdays permanently, and they potentially lose an hour or some shit. It'll be some wacky fucking deal that'll get done, but it won't be something that they'll, necessarily like. It'll be a downgrade for sure. I mean, I don't see them keeping their spot, and I do not see them investing that much into that prime real estate.
Oh yeah, if I was Spike, I would say, okay, we'll renew your deal, but you're going on Saturday night at 8 o'clock, and you lose an hour. Enjoy your shitty time slot and your loss of time until you just decide, because fuck you.
Yep.
We're done. I don't even know why they would want to renew after that whole thing with TNA lying to them. Aside,
well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that, that was going into that. Apparently, one of the dirt sheets said today that it wasn't necessarily that they were lying to them, but it was the fact that, Russo was essentially playing both sides of the TNA spectrum there, with the people who, TNA itself were actually this good thing, and then having people on his podcast or being on other podcasts basically trashing TNA, essentially, and, having a conflicting viewpoint go out there, which it sounds like Russo leaking some news of himself to make him not look so shitty, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was also a factor in that. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at here is for the foreseeable future for their contract, TNA will be on Wednesday nights, which will be for the next 6 episodes of Impact, essentially. And by the time October 1st rolls around, we will find out where TNA will end up. And I guarantee you that they will, like Greg has been saying, they'll get a short-term deal done, and they might stay on Spike, but they will not stay on Thursday nights, and they may or may not stay at 2 hours.
I'm going to make a prediction right now that they're going to max out being moved to Wednesday nights. So they're going to max out at about 3/4 of the viewership they were getting.
That will be the same, I think. I think you'll see the first week drop, and then it'll keep rising every week until they get cut off the air, and then it'll be exactly like ECW was in TNN, 15 years ago or 13 years ago, however long it was.
I don't know. I think the reality is, if a rerun of Cops makes a better rating than Impact does, they're going to go with Cops. I don't think they'll end up on Spike. I think they'll end up somewhere. Where, I don't know. It just seems like, thing after thing, kind of, I mentioned earlier, they say the atmosphere is sort of happier and backstage in TNA, but I think part of that is the fact that they also kind of build up this whole, everything's fine, you're all great, this and that, which is kind of ironic because WWE tends to do well, or better, and it always seems to be chaotic backstage or whatever. And TNA doesn't do as well, and in fact, has a lot of problems, but then backstage it's all, everything's great, we're a big family and this and that, so,
Alright. Well,
and by the way, which one is Davey Richards?
Davey Richards would be the one with the fibula bent in a strange manner.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Now they're easy to tell apart.
You just chop one of their legs off. Whoops.
So, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Alright, so a recent Forbes article noted that SummerSlam tickets have been the cheapest in years, and commented on John Cena being in the main event of the event in the previous 4 years. A WWE executive recently commented that while they still receive revenue from pay-per-view, they've invested more into cable advertising for SummerSlam to encourage network subscribers. Dave Meltzer notes that WWE is on track to break the record set by WCW in 2000 for most lost in a calendar year by a wrestling company, even figuring international gains of 900,000 total network subscribers. That would be around to $59 to $69 million in loss. Holy shit.
That's a scratch. It is. The SummerSlam tickets being cheap aren't that surprising to me because the WWE basically is shooting themselves in the foot lately, and they're just trying to get people in the door. Obviously, they make profit off of every ticket sold. Problem isn't making profit off of every ticket sold; it's making sure that you keep SummerSlam full, and that was the whole point of it. It's not necessarily that that they're hurting to that it's not popular, rather, but it's a case of where they want to make sure that SummerSlam sells out. Basically, WWE has decided to not only flirt with this idea of a network, but take her out to dinner, and now has started dating her and has potentially knocked her up with a child. And once that child comes to fruition, which will be this nasty ring of debt, and that child isn't up to snuff, the whole thing could go downhill quite quickly.
Well, it's also the fact that I think on the secondary market, tickets, the prices were just cheaper, StubHub and things like that. People trying to unload them. We'll get to this in a bit, but SummerSlam, for what it's worth, was a pretty good show. And they are moving to New York next summer. Which I think is a good move. I think Los Angeles is played out. I think they try to give it a big feel having it in that city and get the celebrities out, but, it's always the same ones anyway. It's, Fred Durst and Maria Menounos and Michelle Beadle, and I can't even remember half of them.
Exactly. This is SummerSlam is in a stale place, and it's getting out of that stale place, which is just a wonderful thing.
And by the way, like we keep mentioning, that sounds pretty bad, breaking WCW's record. But again, if it takes them a couple of years and they do reach 2 million subscribers by some virtue, then they will be in a fantastic place financially.
Oh, absolutely.
Very slow going.
Well, I mean, these things do take time. You can't expect, overnight success necessarily with something like this. But, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with, and I'm going to harp on this again, but I'll keep it short, not using all the footage that they have.
Well, and we've explained that before too, where it's not necessarily exactly ready for the network. It might be digitized, but it might not be censored, and that's the problem.
But they don't have to censor, really. I mean, what do they have to censor? They can use they can show the Scratch logo now.
No. You're talking about WCW. We're talking about WCW and ECW and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I was talking about Raw and main event, dude. Old main event.
Well, old main event they should have them already, but
the whole thing takes time. Obviously, I mean, even without the idea of they need more content, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that this isn't like Netflix where you can get and lose and get some more, different things, different shows that come out every year, movies, this and that. This is their own content. So I'm a little bit worried, personally, for that. 2 million's a lofty number. Even with the big international numbers and the rollouts and everything. In my mind, if 800,000 Americans were willing to try it when it first came out, and 128 of those left, I don't see what else they could really... I mean, obviously more content is good as they add more. The Nitros in October and all that, that's good. But I guess what I'm saying is, your average consumer, it's not like, a year down the line, somebody might say, maybe I'll try it finally, but somebody else might say, well, it's still basically their footage, so it's not like... it's not like they got the whole season of Game of Thrones and I can just watch it whenever I want,
Right, it is wrestling specific, but, I mean, there's still...
Let's put it this way. Literally speaking, it is the best wrestling product in the world today that you can purchase worldwide for fairly cheap.
$9.99.
God fucking damn it! I just want to say that show.
I'm just saying, it's like, well, it's kind of like this Simpsons World thing we mentioned before. It has every Simpsons, and that's a huge selling point. But at some point, then you're like, well, I mean, it's every Simpsons. It's not necessarily going to fluctuate.
But here's the thing: it's not just WWE. It's WWE, it's NWA, it's WCW, it's AWA, it's Smoky Mountain.
But the problem is that it's not all of that right now, and it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
And here's the bottom line on all of this, and I'm just gonna put this out there. We're gonna end this debate because this is like a month straight of us talking about the network and why it's so fucking broken right now. No, you are. You are absolutely right. Whatchamacallit? It basically, it's in its very, very new stages. This is essentially for the first year at least, it's a beta product. And if you don't think that, then you're smoking something. If you're buying $9.99 a month for something other than a stream. a stream of the next pay-per-view and the ability to watch next day Raw and next day SmackDown. Isn't that a thing on there? Or is that?
I don't think so.
Oh, it should have been.
They have contracts for that kind of thing. TV contracts.
Oh, they have contract with Hulu. That's right. Never mind. Well, at least they have all the pay-per-views.
Well,
and they're advertising
when that contract with Hulu is up, I guarantee you that they don't renew that so that they can put that on the network, and that's going to be a huge boon to probably to get people to subscribe to be able to watch Raw and SmackDown the next day.
Yeah, basically. All right, that's enough of that. That's the networking thing. WCW, the whole WCW note. That's not surprising. I mean, come on. We're in 2000. I mean, are those figures adjusted for inflation? I mean, really? Come on, guys. I mean, the number might be scary. But at the same time, if you think about it, the 2000 number, where they did $69 million in loss or whatever it was, if they did $59 million in 2000, that's more like, $78 million now or some balls. It's a lot more. You have to adjust for inflation. So,
and also that loss was straight up loss. It wasn't like WCW was done at that point.
Yeah, they weren't growing.
So it's not like they had there weren't other sources of income so much as they were just losing their business. WWE is losing business. They're investing in things that haven't fruited yet.
2 to 3 years from now, we'll see the WWE Network as the beast that it will be. Speaking of a beast, Bully Ray called a meeting at the Hagerstown, Maryland live event to say goodbye to his peers, as his TNA contract has expired and he doesn't expect to be back. So that situation is Team 3D will be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame at Bound for Glory, and he was gaining a lot of respect as an intermediate between the talents and management, speaking at the NYC talent meeting and giving the impression that everything was fine. Meanwhile, Kurt Angle has been pitching a return to the WWE under a limited schedule, similar to Shawn Michaels years ago. However, Vince McMahon has always been negative about Angle returning as a competitor. Okay, so a few other TNA notes here. Yes, please, I would like the Dudley Boys to come back to the WWE. Please, 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 please. Favorite tag team of all time.
That really is kind of a all of a sudden type deal. Bully Ray really was, out of all the talents, the one to really connect with management and kind of be that that mediator between them and sorry, I'm a bit distracted here. Yeah, he was really that mediator between him and the management and the talents. God, he was. Just the whole championship reign and the whole storyline with Dixie that he pitched a lot of the stuff for. I think he pitched that big table spot, which they, advertised the heck out of. And for him to leave, that tells me it's kind of similar to the AJ Styles situation where, here's a guy who is effectively TNA now through and through, but, if the money's not there, then the money's not there. I think that's what it is.
I would be so excited for Kurt Angle to come back, even if it was just for one feud. And obviously,
and that feud would be Jack Swagger.
Obviously.
Over the ankle lock. And you know why Angle would win?
Because he won the gold medal at the Olympics with a broken freaking neck?
Nope.
What?
Because he find the leg. He find the leg.
I don't know why he doesn't do that every time. I'm like,
I know! It's like, I find the damn leg! What are you doing? It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, why? Why would you waste your time doing such a move if you don't find like? Ugh, it bothers me. It bothers me. Oh god. Anyway, but Bully Ray coming back to WWE. That should be fun. And Kurt Angle coming back to WWE. Not surprising. But I don't think that we'll see a Kurt Angle match.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think Vince McMahon is probably furiously against it, but Triple H might allow it.
Oh yeah. Well, Trips knows that people would be excited to see. They'd be excited to see Angle and in the ring and doing things. And he would go, "Oh, that's going to make money," and not let any personal feelings maybe get in the way. Because really, that's what's important, is doing things that's going to attract people to watch the show and buy things and make money.
Well, at the same time, they want to have concern for Angle's health, and that was kind of the whole issue of why he left in the first place.
Exactly. Should we get into the last little bit here?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see. Evan Bourne had that U-shoot recently, and one of those stories he told was about Taryn Terrell hitting someone while they were face down when she first started out in developmental. Raymond Rowe, half of the Ring of Honor Tag Team War Machine, was involved in a serious motorcycle accident and will be out for some time. TNA claims they released Vince Russo not due to the word getting out that he was working with them, which ultimately led to losing the Spike deal, but in fact due to acting in a, quote, self-destructing manner which upset them, which includes things like going on Jim Ross's podcast and having Daphne, who formerly sued TNA, on his own podcast.
I don't see how just going on Ross's podcast is self-destructive, unless he was going on Ross's podcast and, bashing TNA.
I heard about this point up earlier, but that's exactly pretty much what happened.
That was the joke.
So, Taryn Terrell pinning someone the wrong way. Honey, what did you... So basically what you're saying right here is that if you apply the walls of Jericho, that's a pinfall.
Well, I don't even know how do you hook the leg when they're face down? Do you just, I guess you just kind of lay across their back and put them in like a...
up behind.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a half Boston crab, only you're like reaching on your leg, and I don't...
Maybe she laid flat parallel with them like she was giving them a massage.
Also, you should not be rolling around on dangerous two-wheeled death machines. I'm just saying, your job kind of relies on your body not being splattered on pavement or broken into pieces. So, maybe that's
say Shane Helms. You remember how to man?
No, I'm just saying. There's a reason that basketball and football players, and I think other sports do this as well, they're actually banned in their contracts. When they sign their contracts, it says that they are not allowed to ride motorcycles for that very reason.
Yep. No, that's actually correct.
Well, I wouldn't have said it if it was wrong. What do you take me for?
A fool.
You bastard. You know what? How about this?
Really?
Yes, that's all we got. 50-minute time limit. Yeah, that's all the news we got.
So how about that SummerSlam pay-per-view? That was, it took 2 months of somewhat brutal build. But overall, overall, it was a heck of a show. Not a bad match amongst the bunch, or at least not an absolute pointless stinker of a match amongst the bunch. Except maybe the pre-show match.
Well, it was a good pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. The match that actually surprised me was Steph and Brie. Because it was okay, I guess. First and foremost, RVD defeated Cesaro in a pre-show match.
Yeah, which, really wasn't much of anything. You wonder why. You hear that Van Dam is finishing up, and then, well, no, he's not, and all of a sudden he beats Cesaro, and, this is one of those matches that really doesn't matter. But WWE's cultivated such a brutal win-loss environment that, when Cesaro loses to Van Dam in a pre-show match, people get talking about, what did he do, where is he going,
Yeah, it's really odd because it's like we're in a culture now that if you're on the pre-show, you're considered the doghouse, the trailer, the people that shouldn't be on the show in the first place. So we're going to stick you here because
you're an afterthought, really, because they don't even announce the pre-show until Saturday night or Friday.
Hey, do you know what Cesaro did on the pre-show last year at SummerSlam?
And what's that?
He won the United States Championship. What is he doing this year?
Well, there you go.
On the pre-show,
that's what he's doing.
Well, that championship's an afterthought, too, frankly.
Who's gonna know? Some ghosts?
Sheamus.
Ah, yes.
Wait, there's still a US title?
Yep.
I thought they retired that thing or something.
No, but speaking of the titles that they should have, we would have sworn would have been retired. Dolph Ziggler defeated the Miz in the Intercontinental Championship match, and I was so happy about it because I was laughing, and I was like, Yanko's gonna be so mad.
Why would I be mad?
Because your boy, the Miz.
Look, I love the Miz. He's great at what he does, but Dolph Ziggler fucking deserves something, and it's about goddamn time he got it.
So, yeah, he deserves something, alright.
He deserves a world title shot, but, that's probably never going to happen because he's going to be stuck in fucking mid-card hell for goddamn ever. But I'll take the ones I can get. I'll take the ones I can get.
Yeah, this really, except for maybe the United States title, this really is the least they could do to try and, say, hey, let's see how it let's see how it happens. I mean, let's be honest, winning the IC title, it really doesn't mean anything. It just means that he's maybe guaranteed a spot on the show every week, which, considering how kind of hyped he is, and the crowd loves the guy, so it's kind of like, it's almost like a why not,
Right, well, that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh, the crowd likes him. Why not give him the title that doesn't matter anymore because we've made it completely meaningless, despite the fact that it used to have almost the same prestige as holding our world title. Even Macho Man Randy Savage held that title, and he held it next to Hogan, and they were viewed pretty much as equals. But no, now it means jack shit. It's the title they put on to people to say, hey, look, he's got a title. And that's all it is. It's a belt. It's not even a title. It's a belt at this point. It doesn't mean anything. But I'm done ranting.
It was a good match, good opener.
Yes, it was.
And so
question.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. And then there was the Divas match, which was amazing. Amazing. Wow. These two can go. Can you please keep going?
I actually missed this one, I think.
It was not too shabby. It was very, everybody on this show seemed like they were given a little bit more freedom to do things. It was very, even the finish where Paige hits that DDT, which she calls Rampage, while AJ had her in the Black Widow. That's the kind of thing you don't usually see.
Yep.
I'll have to go back and watch that, because that sounds like a pretty awesome counter.
Yeah, it was. She kind of wiggled her way out of it, and I was like, "Oh, you didn't do that. Oh, you just did." That was really good. Let's see here. She at the end, the touch at the end was quite wonderful. With the I'm knocked out and I'm gonna kiss you and I'm gonna walk away and I'm still your friend.
Let's move on before Gunner starts getting antsy in the pantsy. Rusev defeated Jack Swagger in the flag match by submission knockout.
Yeah, now this might have been the surprise of the night for me. Just how good this match was. I mean, it was very intense. It was very back and forth. There was a lot of psychology to it. Rusev, early on, selling that ankle fantastically throughout the match, and even the finish. I mean, given that it was not a grab your flag match, it was a winner gets their flag raised match. Rusev had to win, and if he was going to win, I would say that's probably about the best way he could have.
Let's put it this way: Swagger looked like a boss in this match. He toughed it out. The two of them had some natural heat to them. Rusev he's a lot more than just some guy that's going to crush. And eventually, when he does turn face and does renounce his Russian ties, he'll be just as awesome as Big E was in that spot. And he can go. That's the wonderful part about him. He can actually go, and he sells things, and it looks good, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, usually when you have, this guy that they've decided is a big deal, it's like, well, he's just not. But I think he's been proving steadily more and more that he has the goods. He's more than just the one-trick pony that they kind of saddle him and so many others as at first, So yeah, plus it got him a decent amount of heat with the, kicking Zab.
All right.
If anybody should have the U.S. title, it should be him.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. Except for they already did that with Cesaro, I think. The whole... Well, I mean, they've done it several times. The whole...
Yeah, it would mean more now that,
Right.
The second surprise of the night for me, or the second biggest, maybe even bigger than the flag match, was the lumberjack match, because, they really kind of shattered what you thought a lumberjack match could be. And it was actually an entertaining match, besides, coming in with the lowest of expectations, really.
Anyone who did not predict that match being a clusterfuck has never seen a lumberjack match before.
So we all knew that the idea of the lumberjacks actually having to run around the arena to,
chase people down and come back
produce them, and even just the brawl in the first place, because who could have, who thought anything more than just the standard, well, they're gonna get tossed in a few times, then they're gonna brawl, and then also the inclusion of Kane, which you could argue was a little bit much, but...
It was a little much, but it worked. It worked well. The spot of the night was definitely the dive off the top for Ambrose.
Plus they work really well together, too. Yeah, remember that spot where Ambrose went for Dirty Deeds, and Rollins gave him an enziguri, and Ambrose falls into the ropes, falls through the middle rope, bounces, regains himself, and leaps from the momentum of the ropes and clotheslines Rollins. That was something else. You remember that?
I love it when he does Nigel's spot. I really love it when he does Nigel's spot. It's amazing. Oh god, he got his face stomped through concrete on Raw.
Yeah, that was
like that was silly. That was overkill, and apparently he's going to do a movie. Did you see that?
That's what I've seen. What the hell kind of character?
Well, he's the lunatic fringe, so it'll obviously some sort of mental patient.
Well, it's either that or it's a buddy cop movie. Let's put Ambrose and Cena together in a buddy cop movie, and see where it goes.
Oh god, that would be bad. That would be bad.
Children in the hospital. I was going to make a joke, but go ahead.
No, don't bother. Bray Wyatt defeated Chris Jericho.
Saw that coming.
Yeah. What did you think of
the
that
match?
Not a bad match, but rather unremarkable compared to the other matches of the night.
Well, it kind of did get lost in the shuffle. Bray Wyatt's feuds just tend to be, he's like, oh, well, I've decided that you're a hypocrite and a liar, and, I'm going to take you down. And the other guy's like, what's going on? And then, the lights go down, and they get beat up, and Spider, and, Sister Abigail,
that really is the problem. Supposedly these feuds are to kind of get him prepared and more over, but they mean nothing. He could lose. I mean, he beat Cena and it didn't mean really anything.
Exactly.
And he loses and it doesn't mean anything. So
I think these would work better if they weren't feuds at all. Like if he would just attack people, just whoever, like keep doing the random thing, and him calling people out, but don't even make it a feud. Just he just beats the crap out of people because he's fucking nuts. I think that would probably work pretty well. Because feuds mean nothing.
He doesn't have an intellectual person to actually feud with. That's the problem.
Turn Sandow face.
You could do that. I mean, like, he already is.
Jericho is intellectual. I don't know that there's too many people on the roster that I would buy are as smart as Chris Jericho.
But you'd have to trade wit. That's the problem. We're not trading wit. Jericho's just looking smug.
No, that's what Jericho does. He trades wit. He shut up The Rock in the middle of his return.
Right, but not doing it here. That's the problem. Moving on. Stephanie Williams and Brie Bella.
It's about as good as it could have been.
Not as bad. Not near as bad as I thought it was going to be. Holy shit, Steph looked buff.
Yeah, they've been training for this match for like a month in advance, or at least.
Yeah, they wanted this match to be good, and it was, not stellar, not spectacular, not blockbuster, but it was good again. Yeah.
It had a Bella in it, and it wasn't as bad as, Bella versus, Foxy Brown. It could be...
Many cheers to Nikki, the actress that she is, just standing there. And when I say just standing there, I mean standing there, arms at her sides, no emotion on her face at all, waiting for her cue as Brie celebrates drop kicking Triple H, waiting for her cue to run around the ring and set up for the turn. I knew immediately. You know immediately what's going to happen.
Well, my sister called it a week ago. she was like, Nikki's going to turn heel. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, even if you didn't know or didn't predict it, I mean, as soon as you saw her just sort of wait, dumbfounded, staring at Brie, waiting to, you knew.
Alright, Roman Reigns defeated Randy Orton. I didn't actually get to see the match, but holy shit, that's a pretty big win for...
It was two amazing spots. Number one is the spear into a power slam. And the other one was the RKO from the, from the Superman punch.
Oh, that does sound like a cool spot.
It was a very... I don't know if I'm just kind of tired of seeing these two together, but it was a very good match, but it's the kind of match that you put on, like, match 3, not match second to last.
Well, you do put it on second to last because you gotta cool the crowd down, and Orton has been doing a good job of cooling the crowd down.
Yeah, it was a lot more. It's one of those matches I like to say was more methodical. It was more kind of paced out compared to some of the other ones.
Well, yeah, that's Randy Orton's thing, though, is to be methodical and...
I don't want him to be cool and collected. I want him to be hot-headed like he was when he was young. Jesus Christ, dude, you got old, man. It's like not even in a bad sense, but you just got old.
We're about 4 minutes here, so...
Brock Lesnar defeating John Cena to become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and what some would consider if you had John Cena coming home from his office job 9 to 5, and he had a considerable amount of cash in his pocket, and then you were to throw him into an alley because Brock Lesnar was wearing a hoodie and he's just some hoodlum. You wait about 15 minutes, so the length of the match, you come back out and Brock has the match, and basically Brock has the same thing. Essentially, Brock stole his lunch money and was the bigger, better bully, and he was a super plus platform. It wasn't even a match. It was just Brock Lesnar's going to destroy John Cena, the strongest man, kayfabe-wise, in the WWE at that current time. John Cena had no chance whatsoever to win, ever, except for when he got snubbed by that STF, which I marked for, because I heard Austin in my head, and I was like, snubbed by the STF, oh, thank God, Jesus Christ, Cena, we've been waiting for months.
Here's my kind of issue with the match. I think you could make a legitimate argument that this was the weakest match of the night, because as you said, it wasn't so much a match as a beating. My issue with that is...
Weight-wise, yes, you're correct.
My issue with that is, they already sort of did it already at Extreme Rules 2012, when Lesnar dominated much of the match, which was an Extreme Rules match and did have weapons and stairs and stuff in play. And then Cena kind of had his little comebacks, and then only this time at the end, Cena didn't get that AA on the steps. Instead, it was just... It wasn't
the AA on the steps. It was him punching Lesnar with his chain.
Oh yeah, that.
It's square in the face, and then he won the match.
Yeah, but he also got the AA at some point.
At some point or another he did, but he also got the AA in this match too.
But you're right, it was
the 36.
It was the chain in the face, yeah. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, the idea is we're supposed to be shocked that Cena was so readily dominated by Lesnar. But again, they already kind of did that at Extreme Rules, and considering that was only 2 years ago when they referenced it.
But you're still supposed to keep doing that, because in no way, shape, or form has that changed. I mean, if you think about that for a second here, Lesnar's at the top of his game. Cena's obviously tailing off of his. He won the WWE. God damn it. That's it.
I would have liked to see a little more back and forth, that's all. Which I'm sure we will at Night of Champions.
Yes.
I just don't think you should have made it so one-sided after already sort of doing that at Extreme Rules, that's all.
I'm sorry, I don't...
The difference is that last time Cena was still able to overcome. This time he took 20 quadrillion suplexes and was just completely wrecked and had no chance of overcoming the odds. This was a mugging.
Yeah, but just me remembering Extreme Rules, and then remembering the fact that Lesnar's been in several matches since then, and the idea that, you know, he needed Heyman's help to beat CM Punk. He lost to Triple H. It's not like, if Cena's supposed to be the, you know, there's just a certain amount of, like, logic that you're supposed to turn off, but you can't, where, you know, he had these brutal battles with Punk and Triple H, but here's the difference between Punk and
Here's the difference, and this is what I'm going to say right here. I agree with you that I understand that I was expecting a more back and forth match, and I was expecting a lot more Cena stuff being in the match. But the way they told the story here was the fact that essentially he beat Undertaker at WrestleMania. He had 6 months off, not going on the road, not doing anything, being completely vacant from WWE perspective, and then he got buff, and then he had 6 months to heal, be at home, and be healthy, essentially. And so you have a healthy, you know, top of his game guy coming into a situation where we have a guy who we know has been hurting, who we know has been, you know, on a decline, because he's been booked as being on a decline ever since CM Punk had his 434 days. And if you want to argue with me about that, I would highly disagree with you. At this point, Brock Lesnar could literally defeat Hulk Hogan in 1993, or excuse me, 1987. I mean, if it was Brock Lesnar versus at this point, kayfabe-wise, you could make that argument.
Maybe, I don't know, because
we haven't seen literally this level since then. Maybe Ultimate Warrior in 93. Maybe. You want to be generous.
Alright, well, I'm getting pretty hungry. I'm starving, actually. Are you guys hungry?
I want a milkshake. Here, you want anything?
I do want a milkshake. The milkshake machine at Arby's was broken.
What? Oh. You couldn't get a mocha.
No, orange cream swirl.
Oh. Alright, you know what? I'll do the ratings this week. Impact. The final Thursday night Impact episode on August 14th scored a .96 rating, down 12% from last week's 1.09 rating. Impact fell to a 2-month low, hitting the lowest point since June 26th at the start of Bobby Lashley's TNA title run. Impact drew 1.126 million viewers, down 20% from last week's 1.410 million viewers. SmackDown. WWE SmackDown on Friday, August 15th, scored a 1.8 rating, essentially the same as the 1.89 rating and the 1.91 rating for the previous 2 weeks. SmackDown leading into SummerSlam drew 2.524 million viewers, down 5% from 2.642 million viewers last week. And Raw on the 18th, WWE Raw's an average of 4.19 million viewers. The first hour drew 4.28 million viewers. The second hour drew 4.33 million viewers. And the third hour drew 3.97 million viewers. This is down from last week's total, which drew 4.3 million viewers. So I would guess a 2.9 maybe, coming off the second hottest show of the year? Ooh.
Yeah, not good.
Alright, with the birthdays, yank 'em.
I was going to say, but things that are good, here's some birthdays. And then you completely ruined it. I had a good transition, and then you just... all of
got all the genetics in your face.
Alright, on the 20th we got Duke the Dumpster Dressy, Brian Saxon, and Tori. On the 21st we got Nathan Jones. On the 22nd we got Precious Paul Ellerling, Adrian Neville, Stevie Ray, and the Usos. On the 24th we got Funaki, Rocky Johnson, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon. On the 25th, we got Crash Holly, Ivan Koloff, and David Young. And for the 26th, the final day, Bobby Duncombe Jr. and Petey Williams. Do you remember if there were any deceased persons in our birthday list? You can tweet us or email us or message us on Facebook or Instagram and MySpace.
Do we have Instagram?
No, we don't have either of those things. We do have Twitter and Facebook and email. Let us know who the dead people were, and you may just win a t-shirt from, I don't know, barbershop window, maybe?
Probably. And now it is time for This Week in Wrestling with Omega BR.
Yes, this week in wrestling history. Circa 1996, where Super Dolphin defeats El Pantera to win the UWF Super Welterweight title in Aomori, Japan. This began Dolphin's fourth reign and ended Pantera's third. Jump to 2000, where Cybernetico defeats Hector Garza in Querétaro, Mexico for the AAA version of the IWC World Heavyweight title. This ended Garza's second reign. Lady Apache is stripped of the CMLL World Women's title that same date after jumping to AAA, ending her second reign. And in 2004, the Staten Island Sports Fest is taken down by the Wrecking Ball. The venue housed batting cages, indoor golf, bowling, and video games, and was the site of many ECW events in the late 90s, including an infamous one after police and 3 ambulances were called following a riot involving the Dudley Boys. It was also the home of the Strictly ECW movement, as NYC fan Anthony Lewis protested the company losing its time slot on the Madison Square Garden network, and helped the company get onto pay-per-view, including the original holdout, Cablevision. And that was This Week in Wrestling History.
Happy trails this week. Happy trails to Roman Reigns, who found a bug in his lunch at an LA restaurant in Campanile and complained about it on Twitter. Billy Kidman then joked that he hears Reigns lies about bugs in his food to get it for free, which Reigns took seriously, saying he doesn't need any handouts. Oh, Roman. I believe it's called a rib. Not a bug.
Apparently things that Roman is not big on are humor.
Or bugs. And Happy Trails to Hulk Hogan, who claimed to have lended to support Ultimate Warrior's family. Widow Dana Warrior claimed the Warrior never gave him a call or sent a card, as he claimed, and that his interaction with Warrior during WrestleMania weekend was always in front of a camera. So, we're at this part of the show. What should we watch this week in wrestling? Yankum DDS.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I should suggest something good, but not something that I've suggested 1,000 times. It doesn't have to be from this week, right?
Of course not.
Okay. Let's see. It probably wouldn't have been best to call on me, since I told you that I didn't really get to watch much wrestling this week. So, let's say Miz versus Dolph Ziggler last night on Raw, because that was a pretty good match, and I really like both those guys, and they did well. That's it.
Kane, remember what Dr. Shelby taught us? Daniel Bryan says.
Oh, sorry. I accidentally played you reading text porn. How did that happen? Guys? Alright. right. Well, I guess that's it.
Apologies for losing you there for a second. I had a visitor. But this week in wrestling,
that time of the month, huh?
no, I'm totally broken through. I can't believe I just said that. You can call it. No, this week in wrestling, I would like you to watch the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge from Vince McMahon, because it was quite possibly one of the more hilarious ones. So that's it for the show. Megan, you gave your suggestion this week.
No, I didn't. You didn't give it a chance because you're a jerk.
Oh, well, then Megan, go for it.
I don't know if it's even still there.
Well, since it was going on at the same time, if you have the opportunity, I suppose check out Triple A's Triple Mania, which of course had Del Rio's debut, but also had a steel cage match where the loser had their head shaved or their mask unmasked. And the former Sin Cara original, Miss Deezes, or however you say it now, was in the main event too.
I was trying to play this when you mentioned Del Rio. Oh, that's not right. You mislabeled this. It says millions of pesos. I assumed that it was actually pesos in the clip. Way to go, Gunner. I will never allow you to label clips when you send them to me again. I will just listen to them and label myself.
You should be doing that anyways because you're a technical producer.
Or maybe you should just not suck at labeling things.
Understood. I love the show. Alright, that's it. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you all for listening. We will talk to you guys next week. SmarkSnark.com, Twitter.com/SmarkSnark, Facebook.com/SmarkSnark. Follow us, tweet us. You know, we do all that fun stuff. If you'd like to be on the show, SmarkSnark@gmail.com. We swear to God, player Uno's going to be on here one of these days. Take care. Spike your hair. Woo, woo, woo. You know it.
Good night, Westfield and Mr. Pardo.